Guys, welcome back to another episode of I Have No Idea What I'm Doing. Today's guest is Taylor Snyder. I found her on Instagram and I think she's such an advocate for the dolls. She's beautiful, she's stunning. And I also feel like her and I have kind of the same belief systems when it comes to like the doll world. And definitely what's going on right now, it's nothing, definitely what's going on right now is a perfect time to have her on because we got some tea to tell you. So, hey Taylor, how are you?
Hi, I'm great. Thanks for having me on.
Oh my gosh, welcome to the pod, sis.
Yes, no, I'm so excited to be here. I feel like we're finally like now getting a moment to actually like talk and actually like be in each other's faces. Because I've just been so busy. So with all this stuff, even before all this stuff was happening. So it's been a whirlwind.
I'm gonna get like straight into it like I always do. So, what I'm gonna start with like your journey first. Like, what got you to being where you are now? Like, how did that journey start for you?
So basically, my transition started before it was cool. Um, I started back in 2009, and so things were not as it didn't come as easy as it does. I'm not saying it's easy today, but it didn't come as accessible. And I when I was a young adult and I was just graduating high school and I was getting in the workforce. One of my very first jobs I ever had was at MAC Cosmetics, and that was really fun. And I loved my job so much. But for whatever reason, I just didn't feel confident with who I was as a person, and also I just wasn't making the money that I needed to make in order to transition successfully, or at least the way that I wanted to transition. And so ultimately, that kind of pushed me in the direction of pursuing full time sex work. And that's just how it goes for a lot of girls in our position. But for a very long time, that's what I was doing. And, of course, I had other things that kind of coincided with it along the way. But, you know, diving deep into sex work and like transitioning in the way that I did, it really did shape me to being the person that I am today. So, like, yes, did it suck? Of course. But also, like, there were so many rewards that came from it as well because it really builds character, as fucked up as that may sound. So I never really treated social media throughout my life. I've never really treated social media like how the average person would treat it. I like to treat social media like my little playground. So I'll post whatever the fuck I feel, whenever the fuck I feel, just for shits and giggles and giggles and shits. And but then I began at 4.5, 5 years ago is when I started my brand, my business. And it started off as just being a bag brand, and then it evolved into me being a fashion designer. And then I was able to work with, different celebrities and musical artists and stuff like that. So because I was actively pursuing being an entrepreneur and building my brand and my business, that is what really inspired me to get in front of the camera more, because who else is going to promote my business and my brand better than myself?
Well, and I love a girl who can do multiple things.
Basically, I had reached a point in my life. This was like 2022. So it was like we were just barely getting out of lockdown, and I was just like over it. I needed a change. Like, I was doing just fine, but I wanted to, like, spread my wings a little bit more, and I just wanted something different. At the time, I have a little sugar bear, and we were one thing, and I love him dearly with all my heart. We're like together. And so what we watch a lot of Shark Tank together. We did watch a lot of Shark Tank together. And so I was talking with him. I was like, you know what, babe, I could fucking do that too. I'm like, I could make a product. I could fucking do, even if it was like something little chintzy, cheap, and we like, get it done in China, or mass produce it and try to do something. So I came up with a couple initial ideas at first, like something that's like a little more like low end but high volume and hopefully high reward, and it just didn't work out. And so I was like, no, this doesn't really speak to me. I don't really like this. I'm like, what is something that I can sell and I can market something that speaks to who I am as an individual. And so I travel a lot. And so I was like, well, I'm like, what if I make like passport holders? But I don't want to just make like some chintzy little piece of shit passport holder. I want to do like something a little bit more elevated, something like, teetering like a Gucci Louis Vuitton esque style. And so what started off was supposed to be passports. It turned into a full-fledged bag brand, and so ended up designing. I had this bag in my brain, and it was actually my bag that I currently have. It's actually kind of inspired by a Louis Vuitton duffel bag that was like very limited edition.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. It was giving very like Paris Hilton, like 2005, 4.
But the difference with their duffel bag and mine is that the pouches that my pouches have, the Louis Vuitton ones, they were just attached, so they weren't able to be disconnected. So my bag is technically 4 bags in one, so you can get multi-use out of it. So, but that's basically the birth of my brand. And then now it's evolved into this where I still have the bag brand, I still do that, but then also I have a product development and design studio. So basically, if you're a business or a brand or even a person just like me who just has an idea in their brain and they want to bring that idea to fruition and they want to like bring this idea and make it into a product and bring it to market, I will help you make that happen. So like one of my clients right now is actually a sex worker. She's made a tremendous amount of money on OnlyFans and she wants to expand her horizons, and so she's making a wonderful line of products and I'm helping her with it.
So, Lindsey Graham, let's talk about it. All right. How are you dealing with it? How's everything going? I just want to make sure you're okay.
Well, I mean, like I've been down this road before. So this wasn't the first time that I brought this up. I've brought this up multiple times over the course of like, many years. So this is nothing new for me. I tried to go forward with this story once back very seriously in 2020. So that's just, and then I saw the senator 5 years before that. So, and like, it's been interesting, like seeing everyone's response to it now that he's passed away, because like there's so many people that are like, oh, we been new, oh, we done new, and like there's a lot of people that think like, oh, they just don't believe me either. I'm just doing this for attention, and I'm just like, no, I'm not actually. Yeah,
Always.
no, there is, and so it's like, yeah, I can understand why people could think that, not knowing or having all of the information available to them, or not doing their own due diligence and seeing all of the videos that have already been put out there of me talking about this whole experience over and over and over again. But yeah, so what happened was I saw Senator Lindsey Graham. He was a client of mine back in 2015. I saw him in Washington D.C. And when I met him back then, I had no idea who he was. I don't really pander or pay attention to politics much. I don't play into it because I think it's a fucked up, divisive system. I don't believe in either or. So it's really difficult for me to participate in something when you oppress your own people. So that's just my philosophy. He contacted me via my ad, so I had an advertisement out there, and he texted me, and we set it up. And the session overall, like that's the thing, is that the session, the time that I had spent with him, nothing really raised a red flag. It was very normal, and to me, and it's. And at the time in 2015, things were much different back then, especially for trans women. So it's like, I'm a very much keep it real type of girl, so I'm not gonna like, beat around the bush, like it is what it is. And so, we got acquainted. He came over, we did our thing, he left, and I never thought anything much of it after that. And then a week later, I come up to New York, and I'm with a girlfriend, and we're eating dinner, and we are watching TV, and he comes up on the TV and he's talking about running for president and forming this new party called the Tea Party. And so at the time I was like, okay, this guy's running for president. I didn't really think much of it because I also, like every other thing I do, I treated my escorting like a business. And so what that means is you value discretion, you shut the fuck up, and you like mind your business and you move on. And as long as, like, you're being respected, like, there really is no issue. But then as time continued to go on after that in 2015, like, you then start seeing more and more and more of this person on the TV, and you start hearing their politics and their principles and the things that they believe in and things that they're preaching and things that they're pushing for. And he was a big reason as to why, like, that whole North Carolina trans bathroom thing was a huge deal. And nowadays, if you try to get a F, like even with me, just this last year, I had to sign an affidavit to get an F on my passport. It's just a piece of paper that acknowledges I was not born a woman, and like.
You have the F on your passport?
Oh, I have an F on my passport. I've had an F on my passport forever. So I was able to get it. But the fact that I had to jump through a hoop and sign a piece of paper that said I know that I am not born a woman to get that F is crazy. So I'm just like, why do I have to, like, that's so annoying. Like, what's that? What's with that? I don't, like, does it really make a fucking difference?
This whole thing is so crazy to me because this whole thing is so crazy to me because I just feel like it's all a bunch of like hypocrites.
It is. And so that was the big reason why I decided to move forward with this story in 2020, was because I had I came from a different generation, and so I had a bunch of trans friends who had also sold their stories publicly to like news outlets like TMZ and Insider and stuff like that, and it was more like, sleeping with celebrities' husbands, and that was a big deal back in the day. So at the time, I was like, I was kind of fighting with myself. I was like, do I move forward with this story or do I not? Like, I just don't know what's the best move. And so, but then I saw that there was a discussion that was being had on Twitter at the time, and it was being led by by a gay male escort. And that's the thing about Senator Lindsey Graham, is that Senator Lindsey Graham was, for the most part, he liked gay men. When I met him, one of the questions that I ask all of my clients is like, is this your first time with a woman like me? And when I asked him that question, he's like, no, I've seen a couple women like you. And so I know that he had seen a couple other women like me, but the thing that really gets my goat, and the thing that really drives me up a wall sometimes, is how people are so stuck on stupid, and the fact that they think, oh, this guy is gay, this guy is gay, this guy's gay. Well, why is it so difficult to comprehend or grasp the concept of bisexuality or pansexuality, or just even having an interest or an asphyxiation with dick? It has nothing. I think it has everything to do with the fact that, like, this individual had a particular set of likes, right? And that like was dick.
Well, okay, so like this kind of like.
And that's not to say that, and this is the other thing, is that and then that obviously that opens up doors for people to be like, oh, well, you're saying you're a man. Oh, you're saying you're this. Da 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 da. And I'm like, no, that's not what I'm saying. You're pushing that narrative, so you need to knock it off, and you need to just keep it fucking real, and you need to just sit and listen, because you're the one with the narrow mind. You're the one that's not choosing to open up your horizons a little bit more and see the things for the bigger picture.
I'm very proud of you that you are stepping out and advocating, because I think a lot of girls just stay quiet. It's like,
right. Well, and a lot of people choose to stay quiet because they're scared of the ramifications of things like this, which I fully understand.
It's just.
Well, and here's the other thing too, is that this, like, I've met my fair share of people as well, and there's a lot of people that I know that have a lot on the line to lose, and I've never signed anything with them, and that's a common thing amongst a lot of us, actually. I was even talking to some other, one of the most famous trans porn stars in, like, the world, Kimber James, I'm sure you've heard of. But, like, I was talking with her about this on her podcast, and she was telling me, there's so many people that even she's hooked up with that are, like, insanely famous, and she's never signed an NDA. And it's just, it's very common. It's very common. And now, of course, I'm sure things are going to be shifting. But back in the day, we weren't signing NDAs like that.
How do you deal with criticism, and how do you like deal with being, a doll? Because it's hard, I just said this recently, like, I get called a brick, I get called ugly. Anything I do, the internet's probably going to hate me, and same with other people, with girls in general, but it hits us a little harder for the dolls. Do you have any like advice or anything like to say on how you dealt with that, and then after maybe some advice?
I love that. So yeah, like, I will say it was not an overnight process. right? Because, you know, words are definitely, they stick sometimes. And so one thing, this might sound kind of hilarious and kind of fucked up and whatever like that, but I'm just gonna like keep it real. But like I attribute a lot of my thick skin to a lot of my sisters from my generation. And the reason why I do that is because, you know, there was you know, I come from an age where we all just used to network, like, because that was the way, you know, we come from the age of the internet. So, like, it's easier for us to connect through the internet. And so there was a Facebook group that everyone knows of, I'm sure, in some way. But there was a Facebook group called the Fish Tank, which I'm sure, and it has a bit of a reputation. Well, there was a group called the Fish Tank that was pretty, you know, it's still a thing here and there, but like, I don't know. But at the time I was a part of it, like, it was a thing. And it was a thing amongst the girls. And so when we would go in that fish tank, like, we would go hard on each other. We would drag each other. We would drag each other for anything. And you know what? But at the end of the day, we'd hug it out. Or like we'd let it go. And like we'd still see each other in the comments with other posts and stuff like that, and it was like never a thing. The self, you need to be able to key on yourself and have like a laugh at yourself. That's the first thing.
Always, because you have to have thick skin, girl. This is not
Right.
easy.
No, not at all. And so, like, you know, I like, as far as like advice for other people, like, you know, what I try to say is, you know, I tell everyone, I let everyone know, because this is a fact, like, you know, please try to read me. You'll never be able to read me, because I will always be able to read myself better and first, and that's that. So you can't come for me on anything. And like, so that's so to I personally embody that. I live it, I breathe it, I exude it. So, and it's just drilled into my brain. I can't really explain it, but it's taken some time to get to this point, and I'm really happy I'm here. Because, like I said, people like you acknowledge these things. People, they see it, and you know, I want other people to be able to get a hold of that power too, because it really is something. So it really is awesome once you possess that skill.
It doesn't matter about followers. I want to say something because it doesn't. I know that sounds crazy, because I believe the ones who support you, the fans, the friends, whatever, are going to support you through the thick and thin and are going to see you grow.
I think for the longest time, like, you know, there's a lot of people. You know, not to toot my own horn, but like, you know, I know that there's a lot of girls who know who the fuck I am because of just my presence and my age also. You know, I've already surpassed the expectation, life expectancy for trans women.
She's in the anti-era.
Right. So it's like, you know, I'm not sitting here saying I'm fucking, you know, famous or anything, but I know that the girls within the community, I'm pretty sure they have an idea of who I am. And so like, and that now, it's only now I'm barely getting my flowers, and it's through this salacious crud that I have to muck through too. Like, I get it, and I understand why people don't necessarily want to follow or support me, or they'll follow me and they'll unfollow me. It's because they are intimidated, and I get that, because to so many people, and especially to so many girls, there is unfortunately this character flaw of just needing to be competitive. And that to me drives me up a wall. Is that, okay, that's fine. Be competitive. Be competitive with yourself though. Push yourself, because you're making it too easy now. So,
New coming up for you? Are you doing any new like bags? Are you on anything?
yeah, no, I mean, so right now business is like, you know, going really good. You know, I work with also a couple other clients as well. So we have a lot of things in store for the holiday season. You know, that's what we're kind of working on right now, is you gotta, you know, with this type of business, like, you know, you're working on things for Christmas, you know, in March. So that's how long it takes. And so we've been working on that. Not only that, you know, I've been doing all these interviews that people have been reaching out to ask of me about this Senator Lindsey Graham stuff, and it's been evolving, and so I want to watch this continue to evolve, and I want to see where this can go in the best possible way. You know, I really want to. I really, what I'm trying to do with this is, I would really like to speak up for sex workers. And it doesn't matter what type of sex worker. I want to speak up for all sex workers. You know, at the end of the day, like, yes, like, is the LGBT my community? Of course, but like, also, sex workers are my community at the end of the day. Because, like, you know, those are the people that I feel have true resilience. Those are the people that know all of the dirty details. And that's what I relate to the most. And so there needs to hopefully be a conversation that leads up to hopefully decriminalizing, um, if not legalizing, at least decriminalizing that, because like we do need some protections. Like, we're living in an age where, like, there's, you know, OnlyFans is legal. We need some protections here.
Well, I always say, as long as you're not hurting anybody, like, I don't need to know. I don't need to know. Like, have fun.
Exactly. And then I'm also working on my own little podcast too. So I will be having a podcast hopefully, like, you know, in the next, you know, month or so. So that's a whole thing right there.
Very proud of you. I'm very impressed that you have grace. You are very elegant, and there's just something about you that, like, gives I don't give a fuck and I'm a bad bitch. And I think that's really important, because I think a lot of the girls now, well, some of the girls are just not that, and I just feel like we need thicker, stronger girls that, yeah, and it takes them time to realize, like, hey, like, I'm a normal girl like any other girl, right?
We're all in the same we're all in the same boat. We're all in the same boat. No one is better than the other, and that's just the way it is. I'm not better than no one else, but you know what? If you are going to sit there and think that I think I'm better, no. Look within and also do the work, because anyone has the potential to do anything.
Well, I also think, like, and maybe this is a Chicago thing that I'm realizing, like, what the moment you're intimidated by someone, I don't believe in intimidation. I believe in envy. Like, because envy isn't a bad thing. Like, it's kind of like, ooh, I kind of love that. And I aspire to be that. Like, once I meet you and if I think you're a bad person, then, like, yeah, I'm good. But like, I'm like, the moment you feel threatened, you don't know that person, you know?
I used to be one of those people. And I think most of us can relate to that. I think most of us can relate to, we all have experienced that envy. Focus on you, focus on your journey, and then everything will fall into place. And I think that's the other best advice I could give, is just continue to focus on yourselves and do what's best for you, do what feels right, trust your gut, and everything will work itself out.
There you have it. This was an amazing episode, and it was actually our last episode for season 3. So, Taylor, thank you so much for coming on.
Yes, thank you for having me.
And I'm so excited. And who knows? Maybe I'll be back for season 4. I don't know. But till next time, bye. I have no idea what I'm doing.